Hi once again about adenoids or nose tonsils. If you see this face from the side, this would be the tongue, the base of the tongue, the lid to the voice box and the air passage. So ultimately the air we breathe goes through this air tube into the lungs. This is the palate which separates the mouth from the nose. So the air we breathe goes this way, right? Now we know that we have tonsils. Tonsils are one on either side of the tongue, so there will be these two tonsils here. And children have adenoids. Now these are nose tonsils. These nose tonsils are present up to the age of 13 or so. Uh, uh, by the age of 5, they are really quite large, and between 5 to 13, this gradually starts shrinking down. And it is rare to find adenoids in adults, though approximately 6 to 7% of adult population may have persistent adenoids. Now, what is it that is a problem when adenoids are infected or large? Now, basically, if the adenoids are large, they will obstruct the air passage, so you will have nose block. This adenoid, since I mentioned, is present mainly in children. We will talk in the context of children. So basically, it will be nose block, which can cause mouth breathing and snoring. This will can also lead to saliva dripping at the side of the mouth, especially in sleep. Now, when these get infected, the child may manifest with headache or cough because the infection from the adenoids will drip down and irritate the voice box and cause cough. So it can also call malaligned teeth. Because the adenoids are chronically obstructing the nose, nature will have the upper teeth and the lower teeth malaligned so that the mouth is perpetually open to breathe air. Now this causes a lot of problems on the structure of the face of the child. Child looks dull, and in today's day where parents are concerned about the overall appearance of the child, even dentists insist that adenoids are removed before any treatment is done upon the child's teeth with regard to alignment of the teeth. So malaligned teeth also is a manifestation of large adenoids, and this could lead to a dull child and not performing in school, not only because chronic infections, headaches, cough, but also because, as we see later, its effect on the ears. Basically, the adenoids affect ears because we go into the details, and the animation which you may be conversant with by now is that this is the nose, this is the ear. As we go into the ear, this is the eardrum. A quick uh, recap on the three bones which are behind the eardrum. This is the middle ear, which is connected to the nose by the eustachian tube, and the inner ear. So mechanism of hearing is the sound waves will hit against the eardrum, which will cause these three bones to vibrate. When the third bone vibrates against this nerve, it converts this electrical energy into electrical currents, mechanical energy into electrical currents, conveyed to the brain, decoded and perceived as sound. Now what happens if you have uh, large adenoids? But before that, just a reminder that this eustachian tube is closed. It is periodically opened because it is attached by muscles to the palate, and when the palate moves to swallow anything, be it food, water, saliva, the tube gets opened periodically and air goes into the ear. Now what happens when the adenoids are large? They would block this eustachian tube, and that would cause fluid in the ear, which is called middle ear effusion, and this interferes with the vibration of the eardrum, and therefore conduction of the sound, and therefore hearing of the child reduces. What do we do for it? We are going to another set of slides. So a more three-dimensional view where this is the middle ear space, this is the eustachian tube, and this is the adenoid. If they increase in size, there could be fluid which forms in the ear. This fluid could really almost fill up the ear and cause quite a degree of hearing loss. Usually, when seen with an otoscope, we can diagnose this fluid, but sometimes special tests like impedance audiogram are required to diagnose the fluid, and pure tone audiometry also detects the extent of hearing loss. So the treatment is basically medical. We give medicines, antibiotics, and nose drops mainly to shrink these adenoids Steam inhalation also does a lot of good, and that decongests the adenoids, opens the tube, and can reverse this condition. However, it is not uncommon to see the adenoids recurring or the infections recurring. So, persistent middle ear effusion or persistent fluid behind the eardrum sometimes would necessitate surgery. And surgery involves draining this fluid. This is done from the ear, it requires no external cut and done with a microscope. But often, when the fluid is removed, a part of the fluid may remain as a residue. So, there is a standard protocol of putting in a grommet. A grommet is a ventilation tube which is put through a tiny hole. It is bobbin shaped. Part of it is outside and the part of it is inside, so it's hooked in place, and it ensures that air enters the middle ear so that the fluid, if anything, is drained, not only physically but also because of the two hole in a can effect. That means when you have a can, you actually put two holes in it. One hole would not let the can empty. It is the two holes which will allow the atmospheric pressure to go into one of the holes and therefore drain. A similar principle used in the middle ear. This ventilation tube will let air go in and promotes the recovery of the eustachian tube, and the condition can come to complete normalcy. Along with that, of course, the adenoid removal is also required. So you have a combined procedure in which the fluid is drained, a ventilation tube or a grommet is inserted, and the adenoids are removed. This again is done via behind the palate and not through the nose. Through the nose, endoscopic endoscopic control is used, but major part of the operation is performed from behind the palate, so there is no external cut or scar, and usually this is quite a painless operation. So it leads to complete recovery, and the child gets back hearing. So this is what the grommet looks like, and this is usually extruded by the body itself. It doesn't require to be removed, and it is always a race with time. As the child grows, automatically the tube will be growing. Nature will be, extruding this eustachian tube, so the situation comes back to complete normalcy. This is what it was before the ventilation tube was inserted, and this is what it is after.